This is LOA Recon with Good Vibe Coach Jeanette Ma, where we explore the ins and outs of conscious creation to manifest our favorite dreams come true. Let's have some fun together. Welcome and thank you for joining me for another episode. I'm recording without Harvey today because he insisted on staying outside with the bunnies and the chickens. Ooh, we just started free-ranging the chickens. So we got chickens a little bit ago. In fact, I was going to do an episode for you. I'll probably record that one for GVU members about the manifestation that seemed like a giant problem. Turns out to be no, dream come true. So Harvey won't come in anymore. He just wants to be with bunnies and chickens. I got them for Winston. No, it's Harvey. Harvey he's all about it. So I got no recording partner today. Ooh, but I do have a good topic I wanted to share with you. You know, I get a fair amount of emails from clients as well as listeners and readers who are asking things like they've got something going on that they're not loving and they don't know what to do about it. You know, I think all of us can relate to this. You know, like those times when we're plagued with a thought that's making us feel stressful or anxious, or where we've got a situation that we're not loving, or there's a choice we need to make and we don't know which option is the right one. There's such an easy answer to this. And I feel like this is the manifesting habit that will rock our manifesting game. When we master this habit, we're home free on manifesting dreams come true. I'm talking about following what feels better. So when you've got that thought that's making you feel so stressed out, just ask yourself, what feels better? What feels better? And then choose that, whatever it is, whether it's a new thought or a different action or both. Just ask yourself, what feels better? And then choose that. Or if you've got a situation that you're not loving, ask yourself, what feels better? Whatever that answer is, honor it. Or if you have to make a decision and you don't know what the right option is, just ask yourself, what feels better? The best choice is whatever feels better. There isn't a wrong choice, actually. There's just helpful vibrations and not so helpful vibrations. When you choose the better vibrations, you're home free. And we can know that by asking ourselves, what feels better? It's so easy. So when someone writes me and they got something that seems really hard to them, like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, they don't know. I know what to do about it. What feels better? Whatever that answer is, that's what you want to do next or think next. It isn't always an action. Sometimes it's a thought. So whether it's, the customers are being ungrateful or the coworkers manipulative or the landlord isn't doing their job or the doctors don't have any idea or our partner isn't cooperating or our family isn't familying the way we think they should. Whatever the situation is, just ask yourself, what feels better? What feels better? You know what? You might have to feel it. You might have to answer it a couple of times before you find an option that really does feel better. So if your first answer feels worse, just ask it again and ask it again and ask it again until you find something that feels better. Like, for example, say I've got a job I don't love. Or maybe it's an ex who isn't co-parenting properly, in my opinion. Or maybe it's a body that won't get better. Whatever it is, it works for everything. What feels better? What feels better? Only you know the answer to. I can't tell you what feels better. I do spend a fair amount of time in sessions with clients offering possibilities, but they're the only ones who know how it feels. I think I have some fabulous ideas about I know what would feel better to me, but it doesn't always feel better to them. We're the only ones who can answer this question. It's because what feels better to me might not feel better to you and vice versa. This is highly, highly personal stuff. When I had a job that I didn't love, what felt better to me was not to hand in my notice that day. What felt better was to make a plan for my exit and then work the plan. That felt better to me than quitting immediately or staying forever and just trying to make the best of it. That was me, though. It could be different for someone else in the similar situation. When I had an ex who wasn't letting me see the dog that we'd rescued together, this is my best example of a co-parenting challenge. What felt better to me? You know what? It changed from time to time. Sometimes it felt better to just know that I could still love her from here, that I didn't have to have her in the room with me in order to love up on Jasmine. Some of you might remember Jasmine, such a great dog. And other times, what felt better was to show up on his doorstep and just say hi when he wouldn't respond to my text saying, "Can I come see Jasmine?" Hi, did that more than once. I'm not afraid. You know what? He didn't change his garage door code, so sometimes I got to visit with her without him there. Woohoo! Or when I have a body that isn't doing what I like this body to do, what feels better to me, usually, not always, but often, what feels better to me is not make a big deal about it. Instead, to notice what is going right and to remember that things are always in flux and this can change too. And sometimes I get a different answer. Sometimes what feels better is to see someone about it or read up on it. You know what? Speaking of reading up on it, this is a different topic, but I was thinking about how often I'm researching things online instead of just trusting my inner guidance. And I thought, at first I was like, that doesn't seem very LOA savvy of me to be soliciting strangers' opinions on the internet instead of tuning within for my best answers. But then I realized listening to other opinions are often how I best hear my inner guidance. Like when someone says, for one of my chickens apparently has bumblefoot, and some people are like, the excise method, it's like a surgical thing. You make a cut and you get something out, and then could you tell the way I said it? I read about that, and I was like, my brows are furrowed, my body's recoiling. That's my guidance saying, not that. And then when someone else said, there's another way, it's the drawing salve method. You do this, that, and the other, and maybe takes a little longer. But when I read that, I felt my body relax. I felt lighter. That was my guidance saying that way. That feels better. You know what? This is not unrelated, actually. This is the same topic. It's always about reaching for what feels better. And sometimes the best way to know what feels better is to just expose yourself to a couple of different ideas. Oh my gosh, and then listen within. Listen within. Always let our inner guidance be the final say. This is an old story, but such a powerful example of how, once upon a time, I went to an astrologer and a tarot card reader. She used them in conjunction for her readings, and this girl was pulling up cards and telling me things that were going so over my head. In hindsight, I realized she was trying to tell me that there are other women in my husband's life besides me. She was being so polite in trying to tell me this, and I was clueless. But what I did remember that she said, she pulled up one card. I think it was like the tower shaking card, I don't know what the card was, but what she said was, your marriage, it's going to be tested. It's going to be shaken to its very foundation, to its very roots. Okay. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I'm in it. I didn't know anything about any other women, but I was like, that sounds about right. And then she pulled up another card and she said, but it will survive. But it will survive. She said, your marriage will continue. And it was not until she said that. I was confused about what I wanted when I walked in her door. But when she said, you will stay married, I instantly knew I did not want to stay married. I did not want to be married. No, I did not want to be married. And I didn't know it until she told me I would stay married. That's listening to inner guidance. And I didn't hear it until someone else said something to me. So sometimes, getting other opinions can help us know it better. So it is not an abandoning of guidance to go do research. It can be the way we trigger it, right? Okay. It's always about reaching for what feels better. That's what I'm saying. So does it feel better to trust that this chicken can heal on her own? Look, I love the idea that she can heal by herself. That thought feels fabulous to me. And it also feels better to find out if there's anything I can do to facilitate that healing. Does it feel better to take her to a vet? The answer was no. Until a couple days later, it did feel better to take her to a vet. We've got an appointment on Tuesday. And then when I get there and the vet says whatever the vet's going to say, I'll be listening again within for what feels better. I'm going to trust my guidance. That's what we're doing with this question. What feels better? We're tapping our guidance because that's how guidance speaks to us. It calls us forward on the path to what we want by what feels better, whatever offers us relief, whatever feels good. So it isn't always easy to know what feels better, especially on highly charged topics, but that's why this is a habit worth cultivating so that we can get really good at remembering to ask, remembering to tune in, and then having the courage to honor it, whatever it is. Getting good at this can really do wonders for our manifesting game because this is how we align. This is how we cooperate with Source. This is how we let it be easy to have what we want. Sometimes we think that it's our inner guidance that's giving us the right answers, but you know what? There isn't any such thing as a right answer. Again, it's just a right vibration. When we choose what feels better, It helps our vibration be at the frequency that allows our desires to manifest. It doesn't matter what we do. It only matters what we vibrate. Good thing to remember. And it doesn't matter what our current beliefs or our past experiences are, because whatever we think we know or whatever we've lived before, there will always be something that feels better to us. Wherever we stand, whatever we're contemplating, there will always be an option that offers relief. Or if you're asking the question and nothing feels any different, like there isn't an option that feels better, then that means it doesn't even matter. There isn't one that's better than another. So what feels better? It's all we ever got to do in order, ask the question and then follow whatever the answer is instead of dismiss it. Some people ask themselves the question, but then they talk themselves out of it because it isn't feasible or it isn't realistic or someone won't approve or they have a bunch of reasons why they think they can't follow it. Look, our inner guidance, it knows what our limiting beliefs are and it has a good way of steering us around them. So that doesn't happen very often, but we've got to be willing to say yes to whatever it is that feels better. And it's also worth knowing that what feels better will likely evolve. It isn't static. It is not always the same thing every day. So you got to, or maybe it is for you. I don't know. You'll find out when you ask, right? I don't know. I think it is worth to keep asking, keep listening, keep noticing whatever feels better, and then be willing to honor it when it changes because it will likely evolve. That's the cool thing about guidance. It just keeps calling us further and further along that path until we're standing right in the middle of a dream come true. Oh, it's so cool how it works. I know there are some who are nervous to engage life like this, the ones who think, things are going to go terribly wrong if we just do whatever feels better. But that's because they don't understand, not fully anyway, or they don't fully trust that we live in a vibrational world that reflects whatever we're vibrating. That's why it's always a reliable process to follow what feels better, because as we do that, our vibration rises and that puts us in alignment to an elevated reality. You remember, we can only get what we vibrate. So when we find a higher vibration, we get a higher reality. We get the one where things are going the way we prefer them to go. And I know that's a deviation from what most of us were trained to believe about how the world works, that we're supposed to suffer and struggle and pay our dues in order to earn the reward. But that's not how it actually works. So yes, this is a different way than most of us were raised to practice, but that's why it's worth being deliberate and intentional about it until it is our default mode to consistently choose whatever feels better. Your sweetheart wants to bring home 3 bunnies from the shelter? Wait, what feels better? Or your business manager isn't responding to your urgent request for help? What feels better? Your shoulder is acting up again? What feels better? You're thinking about eating something? What feels better? Eat this, don't eat this, eat something else, don't eat something else? All we got to do is be willing to ask ourselves what feels better. My feel better was, yes, bring the bunnies home. We'll figure it out. Oh, I'm the biz manager. It felt better to just figure the answer out myself rather than wait on her to get back to me. And guess what? It was easy. Woohoo. And with the shoulder acting up, you know what? It felt better to just decide it's probably not a big deal. Maybe take it easy. Don't sleep on that side tonight. See how it goes. For the eating thing, you know what? It felt better not to. Although yesterday, the same question about the same food at the same time of day was an easy yes. It felt better to eat it. What feels better? That's all we gotta ever do. That's all we need to take us straight to dreams come true. It's easy to overlook because it seems so simple, but in thought and in action, just get better than you already are, because I know you're already good at this, but get even better than you already are at honoring whatever feels better, because it is a manifesting habit that will serve you well. Speaking of what feels better, I've been asked to repeat the 7-day Money Manifestor event, and that sounded like a fine idea to me, but what sounded even better was to change the formula. So I'm leading an all-new event. We start Monday, July 10th. You can sign up for it at 7daymoneymanifestor.com. It's totally free. Even if you're listening to this after the start date, you can still get the emails to play along. We'll be focusing on manifesting financial windfalls and out-of-the-blue money wins, but actually, you can use the exercises for anything you want to call in, not just money. Again, it's free. It's a rockin' good time with fellow creators, and I would love to see you there. If it's your joy to play with me, you can register at 7daymoneymanifestor.com. All right, that's what I've got for you today, everyone. Thanks for listening, and happy manifesting.